So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. And of course, welcome to my virtual purple sofa. But as you can see, you're going to have to imagine it because right now I am in Goa. As you can see, little boaty things and shelly things. So it really does add to the atmosphere. And it does make the show particularly more exotic, if you don't mind me saying. So it does make it special. And as you also know, for the people that I talk to on my show are at the top of their game, whether it is food, whether it's film or fashion. And today, my guest, international fashion photographer, and I have to say that very slowly before I trip over the words, Ash Gupta. Now, I'm just waiting for him to come on, and I think he needs to do more of the talking here. As you know, I have this passion for, going on, and the last thing you want to do is hear more of my voice. So let's see him come on, and I shall try, so give me a second. All right, we have listened.
Finally, can you see me?
Can you hear me, Ash?
I can hear you, but I don't know whether you can see me or not.
Well, I can't, but it's a lovely picture, but I'd love to be able to see your face.
Yeah, so let's do that. I'm on my Zoom, so.
Oh, fantastic. We are on.
Now you can see me, yeah.
Yeah.
How is the sound? Sound is good?
Yeah, absolutely. You sound good. You're looking good. Through my
That's
lens,
great.
anyway.
No, that's cool because I'm in my home office, yeah.
Yes. Oh,
and I was not technically that savvy, so I decided that Joey should stay with me. So he was here, so he arranged and let me.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
It's all
so,
being
yeah.
recorded as we speak. Really. Well, Ash, first of all, thank you so much for joining in and coming onto the show.
Thank you so much for calling me and showing interest in me,
Yes, honestly, I love your work. Ash, I've seen your work. I've seen your pictures. I mean, Hollywood pictures from Ben Affleck to Jennifer Lawrence, and to Bollywood, Preeti Zinta, and you've also got Gulshan Grover. And of course, your editorials have graced GQ, Vanity Fair, so many more. I mean, this is just to name just a few, Vogue. And I don't do you justice because it's certainly more than that. And in fact, I'm so conscious of sitting here now.
It's all right. It's totally fine.
We go to the assessment.
As we talk about the art and the craft, I'm game,
Well, how is it? You said you're going in LA. You're in LA. You're going through a lockdown right now. Is that true? Again?
I am in lockdown. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, God.
So what they did, they did a clever move because they knew that Thanksgiving and Christmas is so close and people are having a kind of a pandemic fatigue, that, okay, enough is enough. Now the holidays are coming and let's go out. So they put the curfew, 10 o'clock. That means you can't start a party at 8 o'clock. Rather, you need to wind down at 8:30. So nobody's going to drink alcohol and drive and go crazy. So you have to be home. And the second thing, that daytime, they can stop you if they see you wandering unnecessarily in a parking lot or in a shopping mall. So because it's only 20%, so either you should be in the line. So it's not like an army rule, but your workplaces are open only up to 20%.
Right.
And essential workers, I mean to say. And no more dining in and just take out orders.
But how's it affect
so that works.
In terms of the camera? Are you able to create a studio though inside your home and use it?
The studios are still open. We have to follow the policy. The policy was less than 10 people.
Yeah.
And for motion film, they opened it. What was that? It was like 10 or 20 people, something like that on the set. And a doctor or a certified nurse who takes your temperatures. Like when Preeti and me, we were doing the documentary, we had to take the temperature and keep a record, every day. And we had to get tested before we started shooting.
Gosh.
So that worked out fine.
Right.
But whole world is going through this shift. So
I know. It does make us sad, but it does make us feel a bit better that we're not the only ones. I think it's a sad.
I know that's such a dark feeling, if I'm gonna go down, you're gonna go down.
I want everyone. I know it is dark, but it's so true though. And so, I mean, Ash, from what I know, from what I've read, I've got the information in front of me. Masters in biochemistry. Am I right?
You are 100% right.
Oh, right. So something. Biochemistry to photography. What is the connection? Straight out question.
It is a continuous journey.
Yeah.
So especially if you keep my ethnicity in mind,
Yeah.
in India, when we were doing our masters, we are not that old
Oh,
because we don't move out of our houses when we are 18, like America,
yeah.
you know?
Right. Yeah.
Like at 19, if your kid is still at home, you ask, like people are asking 3 times, what is wrong with your kid, you know?
Yeah. I know.
But in India, if your dad is a business person in that same town, you live in that house as long as you want to.
Yeah.
Only you move if you move the towns, you know?
Yes.
So I was part of the advertising community in India. I was a part of the theater group in India. I was the member of different poetry circles in India. And so my life was very artful,
Yes.
but I was taking science because my marks were good. So biochemistry was a new subject in Lucknow University that time.
Yeah.
And there were more girls than boys there.
Oh,
So the average was like
that's
70-30.
the attraction. That's the attraction.
So I said, let's join this. It's called aimless education. But education is never bad, actually.
Yes.
So I joined biochemistry department and finally met my girlfriend there and chased her all the way to America. You
Oh,
know?
this is a Bollywood movie in itself. It is. But would you say in some way that your science then helped your photography, helped you in the field of photography in any way?
You know, to be honest with you, education helps everything in your life.
Yeah.
Education gives you a discipline.
Hmm.
Higher education gives you camaraderie too,
Right.
because you're of your own, you're a young adult, you bond with people instead of the person who has never gone to college, you know?
Yes. Yes.
So education does help. I'm not going to say that there's any use of biochemistry. Yeah, a little bit. I stayed away from hardcore drugs, you
Yes.
know, because they taught you, you know what it's going to do to you. So that is the only thing, you know.
Oh, right.
But yeah, education altogether helped me
Right.
because it had discipline, you know, that
Yeah.
you know when your test papers are due, you know that what the competition is, you know,
It's a skill.
and
It's a life skill, I guess,
it
more
skill
than
sets you.
himself.
Yeah, it preps you to being a thorough person in general, you know.
Yeah.
You just can't brush it up, you know. You have to go into
No.
deep down, you know, that why I'm doing it and what I'm getting out of this.
Well, so look, you've been in the industry for so many years, and I think what, 3 decades now? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
A long
30
time.
years.
So
Crazy.
when did you think along that journey, that 30-year journey, 30 odd, that where did your turning point come, where you saw your career suddenly shift up or go on that upward trajectory?
So that's an amazing question, beautiful question, but is a little complex too.
Okay.
So in my case, while I was doing my master's in India, and I'm talking about is mid 80s India, you know,
Yeah.
like 86, 85,
Mm-hmm.
India started showing promising scenes of advertising.
Yeah.
Rediffusion, Lintas, these companies were launched.
Mm.
Rediffusion was a small boutique advertising agency which was used for the elections, actually. You
Okay.
know, they did a political campaign for that year. Garden Vareli, if you remember, I don't know, you were not born that time, but
Well,
those
I was
God,
born a long time ago. I'd hate to say that.
okay.
I'd say longer than your career, though. I had done that long.
Oh, okay, got it.
Much.
But so when I used to see those ads, you know, so of course, like though I come from a state which is really backwards, UP, but the scene was changing in Lucknow,
Hmm.
and Delhi was very close to us. So we started shooting, flying to Delhi, and sometimes taking a train to Delhi
Yeah.
and shooting for ad agencies there, you know.
Okay.
So we created a niche market for us. And that was the time everything was happening at the same time. I was paying more attention to advertising career than my biochemistry, you know.
Okay. But what I love about the American system, as you said, is that you get to do so many things. So you're less likely to have regrets of not knowing or, you know, not pursuing something, but you're more assured of the route that you want to take because you have so many options and you can pick and choose as you like. I think this is what it is, you know, which is really good.
100%. 100%. It's a different world.
Yeah.
If you like, you are more actually, you're encouraged to listen to your calling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is considered, even as a parent, is considered really bad uh, not to support, because after 18 nobody's going to ask your approval, you know.
Yeah.
They're adult enough to do whatever they feel like, but if they're asking and you're
My
supposed to
parents
encourage
actually
them.
tell me what to do. You know, even at 11 o'clock, if I'm out, they'll say, Annie, where are you? Is this any time
I
to
know,
get
I
out?
know, I know, I know. Very difficult, but very, very personal, obviously. Yeah,
But, you know, going
yeah.
back to photography, so this is what you went into. I really want to know, actually, when do you look through a lens, what do you actually see? What is it you actually see? Because I'm not sure if I see the same thing.
No, I know that you don't. But
I take really rubbish photos.
let's dissect
People
that.
have
Let's
complained.
dissect that. Let's dissect that. What I see is what is inside me. I try to find that thing.
Mm,
So suppose I want to shoot something glamorous.
yeah.
So obviously a glamorous subject will come in front of my camera.
Hmm.
Now it needs to be Ash Gupta's glamorous
Hmm.
subject. Right now she's glamorous
Yeah.
according to the stylist, according to the need, according to the casting director. To conversion of that glamour to my glamour
Hmm.
takes few seconds,
Oh,
can
wow.
take few minutes, can take few hours, few weeks, few months in prepping.
But is that
You
lighting? Is
understand?
it
Because
angle? What is it? Is it soft focus? What
no,
is
it
what is
is,
the act of this
that's how you
particular?
define. Yeah, no, so let me tell you what it does. While you've been working for so long, you develop a style of your own,
Hmm.
which does not come by accident, but it comes by very early of your childhood,
Hmm.
you know, junior high school, the battles you lost, the people who didn't talk to you,
Oh,
the school kids
yeah.
you were not. And that sets up a tone and tonality
Uh-huh.
for your beauty, your innocence, your sexy, your glamour. It all is designed at that time of your age. You have to go back, you know. It's like acting, you know. You need to find your actor inside you, you know. So it's very interesting, very intriguing, and they don't teach you in the schools this thing.
Yeah.
So, and the phenomena happens, like it's in acting, it always happens. For the star system, like why Bachchan was all of a sudden uh, angry young man,
Mm.
because it matched with the mob's mentality.
Oh,
They wanted someone, and they saw themselves in him, you know,
right.
and
Yeah.
that what becomes a massive fan following. And so perhaps my colors, whether they were progressive or timid, my compositions, whether they were backwards or forward, matched with my audience,
Right.
you
Okay.
know,
But how long does it
and
take?
that's
How long? Are we saying it takes years to develop a style of your own? It doesn't happen instantaneously?
it. It will vary from person to person.
Right.
Uh, I was, I have been very strong willed person, you know. I like things in a certain way,
Yeah.
and I kept on repeating them, doing them unless until I corrected them. So for me, it was a tedious journey, you know.
Right. Okay.
So it just, but in the end, it worked out, and it's a lengthy process. It's a lengthy process, you know,
Wow.
and it's a risky process too, Annie, because sometimes you get set when you find your motif, you get so much set into that you can't do anything else,
So
and then a time will come when you will be out of fashion. So
yes.
you have to keep on growing too at the same time.
So how do you re-innovate? I mean, how do you refresh your ideas? How do you innovate? I mean,
Uh,
it's a
you
constant.
keep on reinventing yourself,
Yeah.
uh, like the way you do fashion. You don't wear your dad's jeans because they are obsolete.
Yeah.
But my process was very simple. When I was very young in India, I surrounded myself with older people. My
Okay.
friends were like, I was in my 20s. My friends were 45, 50 years old. They were
Yeah.
established. They were ARPS, you know, like
Yeah.
Royal Photographic Society, you know. And I used to learn, and I used to get their smokes, and I used to be like a slave to them, you know,
Yeah.
like wishfully. And as I was getting older in America, I started keeping a very young crowd around me.
Oh, I see. So
So
it's
they,
inverse.
yeah, my my inner circle has not changed in last 20 years. They're still between 22 and 30.
Well, actually, that does
So
work because with the older
that totally
people, you're
works.
learning from their experience,
Yeah,
and then you keep young with your younger generation as you get older. I think that's perfect. I think I'll try it.
100% it works. And I love teaching, I love mentoring, so it completely worked. And they don't teach me photography, they teach me what is cool,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, I
Yeah.
see. What you're supposed to
Who is
do.
trendy, who is basic, who is extra, from like, from language to everything.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah. So you don't feel out of place,
Yeah.
You is still evolving with and that's the reason you can still create what you created 20 years back,
No,
because you have to work with that.
well, this is it. So, okay, so it brings me to the question. Now, you were born in India, you moved out to America. Was the intention to come back, or was the intention always to stay in America? And if the intention wasn't there to stay, what was it about America that really
Okay.
kind of, attracted you or
Yeah.
pulled you in?
Nothing was set in the stone,
Yeah.
because when I was in India, I was already too westernized for India, because your aunt was in London and your this cousin was studying in Prague, and so the scene was already on the horizon that these are not like unapproachable things.
Yeah.
But coming here, settling down here, and getting to learn is like a little kid in a candy land.
Okay.
Everything was accessible to you.
Yeah.
Um, I started learning by the people around me what really fashion is. What is the motif. Everything was accessible, which is impossible. Like the the difference of some arts are very, very beautiful, which you can do anywhere in the world. Like you can create music anywhere.
Yeah.
You can write anywhere in the world. You're in Goa right now, right?
Yeah. This is it.
So you can find a cozy corner and write, and you might be getting a Pulitzer Award, for that.
Yeah.
But there's some things which is more uh, group things, more a team things. If you don't have accessibility to subjects, you cannot photograph the kind of work I do.
Yeah, but
You
then,
know,
if you were in India, would you have then had the same facilities or the same technology or the same people as subjects that you had in America?
at that time it was not possible.
Right.
We didn't even we didn't have camera stores. Like we used to wait for tourists to come and sell their cameras
Wow.
because you couldn't. And Indian government was not permitting to import anything from. So you had to show the reason why you're importing it, and there was no labs like which can repair the camera. Suppose something goes wrong.
Gosh,
So obviously it was very dark ages of India.
just
Yeah,
never realized at all. You just
yeah,
never think about it.
yeah.
Amazing.
I'll tell you a very nice example. As you mentioned, Gulshan, Gigi. So Gulshan was my very close friend, very close friend, and he always pushed me. So when I was in India, I never been to Mumbai.
Yeah.
After coming to America, he tells me, Ash, this is embarrassing. A lot of your friends are working there, and we're actors, and we go to your town, Lucknow, meet your parents and everything, but you've never been to Mumbai.
Yeah.
I badly want you to come to Mumbai.
God.
So this time when he came in 2001,
Hmm.
I think 19 years back, he brought a handwritten letter from Mahesh Bhatt.
Oh gosh.
So
Okay.
Bhatt Sahab wrote to me, "Ki Ash, I've seen your work and why the talent from our country has to flourish so far away from us. I'm
Yes.
inviting you, I'm extending an invitation to have a cup of tea with me." And Gigi just gave it to me and showed it to Shani and said, "I'm taking Ash with me." I said, "Okay, you go, I'll come in January." So I flew in January. Believe me or not, a lot of my friends, these big names, were standing at the airport at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And Bhatt and me, we had a discussion. I said, "Bhatt, because I'm that far away from you, that's the reason you noticed me. If
Ah.
I was very close to you, that's the reason billboards are always far away from you. They're on the height and
Yes.
they're away. Because if billboard comes like this, everything's a blur.
So in Hindi, have I got this right? So ghar ki murgi dal barabar.
Ye dal barabar, yeah. Or a prophet is never respected in his own country.
Ah, so you have to be. I was saying this to somebody. I said I think sometimes it's not good enough to be good enough. Sometimes you just have to be different. I think that's when you get contrast. That's when you get noticed. And I was only having this conversation just a couple of days ago. So it's a very similar situation. So
Yeah.
so if somebody
But
comes,
Annie, to be honest with you, things have changed.
yeah,
We live on a united planet, called Earth.
now,
Distances are not that much, and you can happily live wherever you want to live, and you can happily work wherever you want to work,
Well, because
right now.
technology, social media, technology, AI has allowed us,
Yes.
which wasn't the case, a few years ago.
Like 10 years back,
Yeah,
10,
exactly.
12 years back.
Exactly,
Yeah.
a recent phenomenon.
Like we had to learn a new language because of social media,
Absolutely.
and it's expected out of you. If you're online, I get to know that you're online.
Yes.
And you're supposed to, because if you don't respond, it's kind of rude,
This is it. It's the instantaneous, it's the instant gratification generation, I think. I think this
100%. And I have nothing against that. It's a new people, new kids, their rules, their language. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
I was very honest with you. I said, it takes me 200 times, practice to log in or to create an account. I'm not technically that savvy.
Well,
it doesn't make me a bad photographer. So I had to. I know, but again, I have a group of people who were born with these skills,
Yeah.
So I can do everything. But it is fun. We are in a very beautiful time right now. Well, minus this year, the way it has been going.
I don't even think this year exists. But, talking about young people, so if somebody had to come to you, because you said you have this mentor program, is this the 838 media, or is the mentor program something slightly different?
It is the same thing. When I met my partner, which was in 2009, I think, 8 or 9. Before that, it was all Ash Gupta. And he came from a business background, and he was also an amazing photographer. He came for assisting me. And a time came when he saw me frustrated that I can't run this business, and we were evolving and we were growing.
Right.
And one day I'm like, during holidays, I was like, dude, enough is enough.
Yeah.
I need to have an agent or someone to handle this because I can't run a business by myself. Okay. And he and one other friend promised that, okay, we'll become partners and he'll take care of all that. So still, if I need to write you an email, he'll be sending you.
Oh, okay.
So my business partner comes from that background where everything is done technically, savvy and
but if
everything.
You're the one.
Then we started that mentorship program because schools and colleges noticed my work.
Yeah.
And my manager used to run one of the biggest European modeling agency in Los Angeles. Okay. So I was the only photographer she was handling. So obviously we didn't have any problems with the models. Yeah. Any face who is going to land in LA, I will have to see her, or him.
Lucky.
So that way, lucky, yeah. So we were the gateway, literally. And because of, those faces and people, our work was little different. And these schools and their teachers, and they noticed it, and they started sending us a lot of interns. Of course, our ambience was like that people really liked to be with us, at the studio. And nobody left in 3 months. Like a lot of people were there for more than a year, or, they were part of the studio. And eventually some people got absorbed there and they became a part of the team. So it became I don't know whether India has this or not right now. It's called Collective.
Right.
So it was a first effort in Los Angeles to create a collective. And there's a massive growth in Collective, You can be independent, but when the company needs you, you're all together. So it's a strength in the numbers,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you had somebody come before you, they want to say, Ash, teach me everything you know about photography. What would be the first thing that you would say to them?
Observe.
Right.
Have observation. Observe,
But we had a conversation just prior to this, and I remember, which was really interesting actually, something that you said. You said, I would literally get them to unlearn everything that they've been taught. What was that about? What's the clarity? What did you
that I do because of a reason. Because textbook is a very political things. You understand?
Yes.
The stuff which we study and the colleges are teaching, that was added to the curriculum 6 years back,
right?
After 3 years of fighting in Senate and between political discussions.
Yeah.
So by the time it reaches to our textbooks, is already old. Forget about so you have to learn in the field.
Right.
Like, you understand?
Yeah.
You have to learn. You can't take Second World War and use it as a book and say that I'm creating soldiers.
Yes.
You know, it's not going to work out, because that was a different time, different scenario. And everybody has their own shortcuts. There is evolution happening every minute, every second, You have to be very perceptive in every field now, whether it's writing, photography, painting, acting. There are workshops, methods, which is never going to reach to like college curriculum.
Yeah.
So if you really want to learn, and you remember our time, like my time at least, I had to go to libraries to issue those books because they were not available
My
to
time.
buy. And then my time too. I remember BCL in Lucknow. And I tell my young kids here, and they're like, yeah, but we can just Google everything, So whole world's knowledge is in front of you. And we used to get a 10% of that, we spend like 2 months,
Yes, yes.
And right now we can immediately check it out, that who's who. And so it's all in front of you. And if your college is not creating you to become what you really admire, then you should do something of your own,
Yeah. No.
Like, I'm not saying that leave the college and just sit down at home.
I know.
Just keep on doing what you're doing. But start, please, yeah. That's not my intention at all. But at least you should know that the obsession, the passion, the craft you want to achieve is not going to come from 9 to 5. That should be, you should be obsessed with that.
Yes.
And it is not going to be tiring.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, it's not your job.
No,
it's your passion.
Absolutely get it, because I remember I was working for Radio 1 and I used to be in the morning show host, and my show used to start at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I had to literally get from Gurgaon to Noida at that time, and people said, oh, how did you do it? I said, you know what, if you're passionate about something, you will get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. You just do not care
100%.
or manage it. And so now I know when people say, do what you love. No, not do what, and you've got to literally love what you do. Because otherwise it's just not going to happen. You're not going to push yourself. You're not going to make that extra effort. And so this is what a 9 to 5 doesn't give you. So I know exactly where you're coming from.
Passion is like, I always was involved into theater, and that's what we did after doing our homework in school. Like, finished everything, went to school, and then whatever time we had, we gave it to theater, we gave it to poetry, we gave it to, different activities. So this is a playtime.
Yes.
It's like, at least for me, it's still a playtime. The day it becomes a project or a job and I start feeling tired and bored, I think I'll move out, Well,
I was going to ask you, have you ever come to that point at any time, and you've said, I'm really tired of this? Has it ever come yet? Has it come yet? A little bit of an inkling?
I have said that I'm really tired, but I've never said that I'm stepping down. Right. Because in my profession, they say you're as good as your last image.
Yes. Yes.
And my last image was really good. Okay. I really enjoyed it. I'm still like enjoying my last images,
Well, I want to know, how did those Hollywood stars notice you? Where did they see you? How did that come around? Did you kind of advertise yourself to them, or did they actually?
No. It doesn't work like that here. It doesn't work like that in India too anymore.
Yeah.
You need to have a manager and agent,
Right.
So I had an agent, and he was dealing with a lot of Latin professionals, because we are in California, which is very close to Latin America, like Mexico and those places, So a lot of exchange between artists here, singers and music. And so this gentleman, he was from New York, and he decided to manage me.
Yeah.
And I said, sure. So my first job in LA was with someone I grew up admiring, because I knew it was Bruce Lee's daughter.
Wow.
And that was and Bruce is huge in India, if you know. My brother brought taekwondo, so I know he was like an avid worshiper of Bruce Lee. So I was kind of nervous, like you are too. Okay, good.
Yeah, I love it.
Because
in England, it was all
what an amazing personality. And now I'm meeting his daughter, Shannon Lee, and next day I have to shoot. And so I'll be lying if I don't say that was like what 22 years back,
Yeah.
24 years back, yeah. That I was not nervous. I was a little bit nervous. I was so nervous that I got my car washed twice, which was not needed. Like I don't know why, but instead of checking my cameras and my team, I was more interested what impression I'm going to have it on her. So I reached there, and I saw she came in a very insignificant car, and it was dirty and normal, and she came in jeans, and we got to know each other. Of course, she transformed when makeup and all the team started working on her. And during lunch break, we talked about, and she's like, Ash, I really, really like your work. I saw your work, your agent sent, and my publicist showed it to me.
Mhm.
And I was kind of very nervous.
Mm.
I
Oh,
said, what you talking, Sharon? I was very nervous. And then we started talking about our family and life and all. By the time the shoot ended, we were hugging each other. We were exchanging mobile numbers. And she's like, okay, I'll come to your house if you promise me you and your wife is going to cook some chicken, tikka masala. I said, okay, chicken tikka masala it is. And we become friends, actually. We were friends for like 4 years. And then she changed her career. She moved out of LA. And so I just realized that people are going to be people. Humans are humans.
right.
In India, we hero worship a lot. But here, we give each other their spaces.
Yeah.
Like if someone is with someone, I'll not go and say, listen, I'm a big fan of you. Can I get an autograph or take a picture? We leave you alone because, that's your personal time. We'll whisper that someone is sitting and eating, and that is it. And if we look at each other, we smile, that's it. And that's respect we give to each other.
Right.
Other thing which worked in my favor, I did not know much about Hollywood actors and television actors, and I started my career with them. So when you don't know someone, who are they, then, you're very casual and candid with them.
You're not worried. So who was your best subject, would you say, when it comes to a Hollywood actor?
Everyone. I have a lot of stories. That's what I asked you, how much time we have. Like I'll just tell you two small things, which like everybody who have shot has a story, but because we spend so much time together. Ben Affleck, his manager and agents and publicists, they were all at the shoot.
Mm.
And they all were telling me to cut the long story short. Ash, you got 4 hours. Let's finish it because after that, Mr. Affleck has a meeting and we have to take him there. And by the time we were working, we became friends.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, a lot of my manager is like, by the time my manager has changed and is the same manager now who owns a modeling agency. Okay. So obviously, a lot of models stop by because, of course, my manager arranged everything, and I'm shooting with Ben. And Ben keeps on looking at these models and he's like, so what are your plans, Ash? What do you do after this? I said, I'm going to go to the studio and see what you... He said, so do you think shoot is going to finish now? I said, well, your publicist said that you have 4 hours and we have spent already 2.5 hours. He's like, bro, I don't need to do anything. They're just going to dump me at my house. I have nothing, no engagement. Take your time, man. Because he was having so much fun to talking to everyone. Yeah. So that was one story. So because, so they're as candid and as human as it is possible. Okay. The other story is of Jennifer Lawrence. I did not even know who she is.
Yes.
I was shooting something else in my studio and her publicist, PMK, I think they brought her to my studio and it was in middle of, and I just went to her. I said, sweetheart, it's going to take me some time. Is it okay? And have you ever faced the camera before? She's like, not your camera, but yeah, of course, motion film cameras. And that time I was like, I had no clue who she is, like, to be honest with you. And I think there was only one movie was released of her, Winter's Bone, and
that time.
That time. So I did not know that because it was about to be, like it was in editing or like the movie which made her, And I never used her on my website or in my publicity or PR work. And I met a guy from NIFA. He was assisting me. And one day he was going through my work for social media and all that. He's like, dude, you have Jennifer Lawrence. I said, who's that? He showed it to me. He said, this images should be done, and believe it or not, it keeps on going like that. That when I got to know she, then we worked on that, and because it's just कहते हैं ना हिंदी में कि हलवाई जो है वो मिठाई ज़्यादा नहीं खाता है, So I'm not interested in people. I'm more interested. I get to do what I do with them, And with social media, now I get to know, Google everyone who I'm working with. At least my team does, and they prep me. That
I'm going to ask you a leading question. Who was probably your best Bollywood subject then? Go on.
Maddie, Madhun.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because
is it the angle?
I met him in a party. And he was pretty cool to me, but he didn't realize that I walked in that party with 10 people at least. And I told him, I said, well, I've heard so much about you. Come down. It was on a hill, top of the hill, my friend's house where they were having a party. So I said, come down sometime. Just when you're going to start sliding down, you're going to stop at my studio. So why not you stop? He's like, yeah, sure, brother. I'll see you sometime. And then we realized that we have been there for like an hour or so. So we said, okay, let's leave.
Okay.
And he's like, okay, bro, I'll see you tomorrow. He was so busy because it was a pretty glamorous party. Yeah. And all of a sudden, everybody is picked up their bags and purses, and 10, 12 people were ready to leave with me. And he's like, what's wrong, Ash? Why are you taking everyone? I said, didn't you realize that we were the party? And we laughed so much. We hugged each other. Next morning, he was at the studio. But he was so cool in bunch of senses. And he has been now we are family friends. I know his wife, I know his kids, he knows my family. Yeah. Last year we were together for Thanksgiving. But he's so cool, he'll come. And he knew that the studio has a bunch of young happening kids. And he wanted to win their affection and, So he will carry 3-4 pizzas, with him and bring it on his head.
I'm going to be there next time.
Believe me or not, the people behave differently too, at the studio. He will sit on the wooden floors, get a towel, clean it up, put a cushion and sit there.
Wow.
There was no. And one day when his last movie released, he sent a video of him in Hyderabad and some places and Bangalore when he was speaking at some student council. Yeah. And he said, that's for the team. I'm not a homeless. People love me in back home, So he was like, your friends must be thinking that I'm just lying at the studio, but I enjoy it here. I said, that's totally cool,
Right, okay. Well, so this is it. Now, you've kind of concentrated not only on the stars and the faces, but also fashion. But from what I understand, you prefer to be seen as a fashion photographer. Is that the case?
Yes.
Yes, more than anything. So,
because I don't record subject. I don't document subjects. Yeah. I cannot be just a photographer. Yeah. Fashion is an ever-changing thing.
Yes.
So I don't shoot clothes particularly, but whatever I do is very stylized.
Yes.
And it will vary with the norms and notions of the society, the situation. Like my pandemic images are very different than my non-pandemic times, So, yeah.
Over the time, would you say that fashion has changed over the times that you started, or our appreciation of it, or even I guess what we accept? Do you think maybe your pictures are probably a lot more forward, or how do you feel that your pictures have changed though? Are you a bit more, I guess, risky when you take your pictures today because you can afford to be? Because we appreciate art or fashion in a different way now than we used to.
There are like 10 questions you just asked me.
I did.
You did.
But since you're the expert, I figure you'll be able to.
No. I know. I don't know where to start the thread. Has nothing to do with risk factor, to be honest with you. If it had to do with the risk factor, fashion in India, like the slang we used, when a girl wears lesser clothes, we say, oh, wow, you're turning too fashionable, too mod,
Yeah.
I'm talking about my time,
No.
When we could, our time, okay. When we could see a girl on the big screen and we knew that she can't be the lead because the way she's dressed.
Yeah.
We used to judge a character by the way people dress, but that myth got broken in few years. Everybody is in swimsuit on beaches.
Yes.
And so lesser clothing does not make you fashionable. It makes you more casual. Fashion is carrying those Valentino gowns and Oscar de la Renta's, Yes. So fashion is completely different world, altogether. What I call myself fashion photographer, fashion is, your work can be fashionable.
Yeah.
Fashion is just the adjective I'm using. Do you understand?
Yes, yes.
Like
yes,
here.
I understand, yeah.
So you are a very fashionable writer. It doesn't mean that you keep on writing about clothing and sambas and,
No.
But you are in sync of the time.
Yes.
You are in the sync of a style, what is current. And so as long as people consider me fashionable or fashion photographer, I'll stick to fashion photography,
So basically it means you are with it, you're resonating with current times and appreciators, I guess, of the art. Is that what you're saying? You resonate?
100%. 100%.
Right. Okay.
You can be little forward of your time. You can be little backward, and you want to reminisce about 50s era and create a homage to that time and do something. That's a technique. But in your thinking, you need to be because there's a difference between, and that is actually it answers the question which you asked me, why I'm settled here and not in India.
Right.
Because in India, photography is still not a fine art.
Yes. Okay.
You just shoot me sharp, crisp, and bright.
Yes.
Check out your covers.
Well, but look,
scene is changing. I'm not saying that scene is not changing. There are a lot of young kids coming out from India, which is phenomenally great, And when I come there, I talk to them a lot and I hang out with them and everything. But it's very slow in comparison to the way our filmy scene has evolved. Like film industry has evolved leaps and bounds in India.
But you said it's...
But photographer is still a photographer who documents reality, which is little different. Is my version of, like, if I photograph you, it's going to be my version of Annie.
Yes.
And people will take it on that version. Not that way, but she should not look like this. No, that's the way she looks to me, So I created that.
Okay. So quite
because honestly, you're not going to go and tell Hussein why you made me like this.
I know.
So yeah, like this is not me. That is his version of you.
Right. So the Renaissance. So I can say, look, I'm really not that wide or that fat, but Renaissance saw us as big and beautiful. So he's going to
100% is artist prerogative. Like what he wants to.
So that's
create that.
But do you not feel sometimes, though, that this is the time? Yes, fashion is changing. Yes, India hasn't maybe quite got there yet. But do you not sometimes feel that you want to come back and maybe push it up or be the change? What do you think?
I don't have that in me, the leadership quality.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
I am just an artist. I like, and artists are every artist is little decadent. Will you agree with me or not on that?
Yes, I do. And also
so I love decadence. I thrive. I thrive in luxury and I thrive in agreeable circumstances and I guard that here. Will I work in India? Yes, I would love to. I have projects for India. I'm working towards that. This morning I had a meeting and I talked about doing something in India with Netflix. So we'll do something. But
when you are in the country, you need to call me up and I'm going to be there and I'm going to take a video of you taking a video or a shot. So
done deal. It's going to be a massive party.
That'll be fantastic. So I'll be bringing the party this time, Ash.
Done deal. We're working on that project. We are working on that project for the last few years. But demographics always, just goes because of long commitment. It's a commitment of a few months,
Yeah,
to bring a team
imminent.
of.
So it's imminent.
Say again? Sorry.
The project is imminent. You.
Yeah, project has to happen. This is like my piece, which I can give to photography before I die. That I saw India through the eyes of fashion.
Okay, as I always say, you know what? I may go, but as long as something stays of me here,
Yeah. Because it's going to be a unique body of work. Because fashion is not the designer brands. Fashion is something which you live with. And I'm realizing that that is finishing in India
Yes.
so drastically that even forests are not burning and diminishing as the fashion is diminishing from India. Because remember, in Rajasthan, a guy a retired old granddad, used to take like an hour and a half to tie that turban
Yes.
with different folds.
Yes.
And why he was tying that? Because he will sit on the porch and smoke his hookah, and kids will come, and he'll tell them the story of his time.
So it's a whole.
That guy is still alive, but he doesn't do that anymore
Yes.
because kids are gone. They have gone to the nearest town to work in the call center or to work in some multinational company.
Yes, and plus the
So there
turbans
is
are ready
no.
made.
Say that again.
And the turbans are ready made, so there's
And
no.
turbans are pre-made, So, but what moral of the story was that his need was not to show off his turban. That came naturally to him.
Yeah.
His need was to communicate.
Yes,
And that communication is not there. Why do you think that we wear jeans and we wear seamless jeans and we wear torn jeans? And so if it gets torn in the rough uses, we don't feel, oh, my jeans is torn, It's already torn. It came torn,
Yeah.
So fashion, necessity has taken over the fashion,
Yeah.
We are just catching flights here and there, living, in a fast lane. Pretty soon it will all die down and it will be all like brands, names. I want to capture that we come from a country where in UP, a girl cannot dare to show her calves, but at Kerala, all the wedding ceremonies are done in the backwaters,
Yes, yes.
and they have to wear a skirt which is higher, so their calves and knees are not, so it doesn't get wet. Same girl, if you reach to Rajasthan, has no problem showing their midriffs because it's very well toned because they have been walking as a herd with the waters,
So
with pictures on their heads.
No, Jimmy, yes,
It's crazy. Like in one country, you see so many variations of fashion.
Yes.
That is.
And I have to say, India is that place. India is a classic place. And people say to me, why are you always traveling in India? Why don't you go to Europe? I said, to be honest, there's something about India. Every region is different. Every region is different. The terrain is different. The dress is different. People are different. And there's still there's still lots of places for me to visit.
Yeah. I love that part of India. I love that part of India, that diversity.
Yes, this is it.
Yeah.
So,
it's so diverse. Yeah.
We know your last project before you go, but before we go, when you get to a point where you say you're in the process of you did have an inkling and you said, I was thinking I may be a bit tired, but if you come to the end of that process, if not fashion photography, what would you be doing?
I would have been a youth counselor or a therapist for younger kids.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Add that to the bit. That's part of the extension of your mentor program. Why not?
Fantastic. It is. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I love hanging out with them.
Oh, lovely. Well, Ash, you've been absolutely amazing. It was
great talking to you, Annie. Yeah.
Oh, honestly, it has been so enlightening. It has been, it's been so interesting getting an insight into I guess actually one of your editorials, the man behind the lens. And I hope a lot of people, take something away with them. But if you had to put it into words as a final kind of a point, if somebody is thinking of becoming a budding photographer, what kind of advice would you give them before we leave?
It's a hard journey. It's a difficult task. But if you have it in you, if you enjoy, and if you can't live without that, please go on. It's not an optional thing that I'll do this, and then I'll do this. No. If you cannot live without, there are a lot of things to do in life. Being an artist is not the most important thing. Mm-hmm. But if you can't live without art, if you can't separate yourself, then go for that. But go with open eyes. Yes. And have patience. It will take time.
Okay. Yeah. And failing that, come to Ash Gupta's media mentor program. 838 Media, because you'll get all the counseling and all the guidance that you need.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
But it was great talking to you. Amazing talking to you, Annie.
Well, no, honestly, I've really enjoyed it. I have to say, you know, I'm in Goa, and this kind of topic, to be honest.
I know that was the whole, that I felt so bad that because my assistant told me, Joel, he's like, but you know, she's in Goa and she's on vacation. I said, dude, we could have done this next week, you know, like when she would have been back in Delhi.
As you said, we enjoy what we do. So when you
enjoy exactly
what you do, it is not work.
Yeah, I know. It's very refreshing, actually. It's very refreshing, yeah.
No, well, you know, you've been an absolute star, and I have to thank all my listeners that will be coming to the podium to watch this, and I hope they take something away from this conversation. And of course, listeners, if you want to listen to more of Ash, well, you can come onto
They can reach me, yeah.
Yeah, and you can come to my YouTube channel if that's what it's all about for you. Annie D in conversation with Ash Gupta. And of course, you can read my articles on my website on www.annied.in. It is all there. I will be there. Ash will be there in all his
100%.
colour and glory. Well, Ash, thank you once again. Absolutely fantastic talking to you. And I hope to see you soon. I honestly
We will see. We'll see each other very soon, and thank you so much for giving me so much time, you know.
Absolute pleasure.
Take care.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, Ash.
You take care of yourself and stay safe, okay?
Thank you.
Bye, Annie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.